Hello my crafty friends, it's Beverleigh here over at Crafting Chaos, and I'm here with another scan and cut tutorial for you. In this video I'm going to show you how to make a twist and pop mechanism and the matting card in the inside, and also some layers for the base card. Now it's not difficult, and I will be doing a video as a follow-up to show you how to put these twist and pop mechanisms together. So that'll be coming later. So this is what the insert looks like when it's in, and when it's closed it folds flat, and then as it opens it twists and pops out, so it's like an inner pop out. Alright, so let's get started. So we're going to start the process by making the actual mechanism itself. So we need to bring on some basic shapes. So I'm just going to enlarge, bring on a square, and I'm going to open the properties box, and I'm going to take off the maintain aspect ratio, and I'm going to resize the mechanism to 2.3 inches by 11 inches. So that's what we're up to now. I'm going to click on that rectangle we've just created and hit D on my keyboard to duplicate. Then I'm going to make the width half of what it is. So if it's 2.3 now, it's going to be 1.15. So I'm going to change the width to 1.15, and I'm going to hit OK. And that's made it half the width of this one. So this is going to create our score line down the centre of the card. So I'm going to select both. I'm going to line them up to the top and also to the middle. So this narrow one now is directly on top of the bigger one, and I'm going to click on it so you can see that that's the one underneath. We'll give that a little bit of colour so you can see what's happening. We'll make the top one a different colour, and then it's just easier to see on the screen. So what we've got is a big rectangle on a small one, so I'm going to double click to expose the nodes. I'm going to hit I need to double click to expose the nodes, and I need to make sure that the right node is selected. Then I'm going to hit minus, so you can see that's taking it across to a triangle. Select that node and hit minus the node which has just left the bit in the middle. Now if I click on the zoom glass here, the magnifying glass, it will automatically select that line for me, and I can hit cutting line and perforating line. As you see, click on the selection tool and select both the score line and the rectangle and group them. So what we've effectively done is put a score line down the centre of our 2.3 inches wide by 11 card. So that would score dead in the middle. So the next step is to bring on a square, and we need to resize that to 2.3 inches square. So I'm going to hit the maintain aspect ratio, and I'm going to go 2.3 inches and hit return. So that's given us a square like you see. So I'm going to hit D on my keyboard. I'm going to click on the square and hit D, because I am going to need a duplicate. I'm going to select the big shape and one of the small squares, and I'm going to centre them, and I'm going to also line them up to the top. So now the little square is on top of the pink one, and we can show that by changing the colour. So now that's on top, and we need to use that to create our diagonal score lines. So I'm going to select, double click to select the nodes, and I'm going to remove that node, and then I'm going to click here and remove that node, which will leave us the diagonal score line in place. Hit the zoom button, which will select that line, make it a cutting line and a perforating line. Click on, and onto the selection tool. I've just zoomed in a little because I had that selected. I'm going to select both and group. So now we've got our first score line at the centre. So now we bring on our second square, select both, line them up to the centre and again to the top, and we're going to click on the pink one, and we're going to send that behind because we want the square on top, and we'll change its colour so you can see what's happening. Double click and click on the bottom one and hit minus, and then double click, hit minus, and if you get that happen, just undo, double click, and you know then it's the other one that you want, this one. So you just play around with it until you get the right one selected, and once you've got to that stage, hit the spyglass, make it a cutting line and a perforating line, like so. Click on the selection tool before clicking on the page, select everything and then group them. So now that's effectively the mechanism to create your card. So what we're going to create next is the mat that goes inside a concertina fold, if you will, and that needs to be another rectangle. So I'm going to bring on a square and I'll keep the maintain aspect ratio box unclicked, and this one needs to be 11 by 4.5. So 11 inches by 4.5 inches. 5. And we'll say OK. So there's our piece that's going to be our piece that opens out with our pop-up in the middle. So we're going to duplicate that, and I'm going to shrink it down to 5.5 inches. Okay, so sorry, and we're going to say OK. Now that is exactly half of that shape, so I'm going to select both, but before I do that I'm just going to click on the smaller one and make a duplicate and move it off to the side. Then I'm going to click on the long one and the short rectangle, line it up to the top and to the left. Then I'm going to look at it, I'm going to click on the one which is the small one, I'm going to double click to expose the nodes, and then I'm going to say minus, and also we need to be getting rid of this line, so we're going sorry, wrong one again. It is a little bit of trial and error till you get the right one. Minus, and then we get the middle line selected, click on the magnifying glass, make it a cutting line and a perforating line, and then click on the spyglass, click on the selection tool, select both, and then edit and group. Okay, so that's where we're up to there. So now I'm going to bring on my second rectangle that I duplicated, and I'm going to shrink this down to half of that size, so that'll be 2.75 inches wide. So now that's going to be exactly halfway between the middle score line and the end, but we need to bring that to the top because we want to be able to manipulate it. So I'm going to select the one underneath and the small one, but before we do that we need another duplicate for the other side. Put that small one off to the side, select both, line them up at the top and also to the left, click off, double click to expose the nodes. We need to be getting rid of that one, so we're going to click there, and we also need to get rid of the horizontal, that one. And again, if it does the wrong one, just click off, make sure you select the right node, and then you'll get the score where you want it. Click on the magnifying glass, make it a cutting line and a perforating line, click on the selection tool, select both and then group. So now we've got that second, select them all and make sure they are grouped. That way then we can move this file around without moving the score lines. Last one, we're going to line up to the top. We've brought in the other small rectangle. This time we're going to line it up to the right hand side. So now our little rectangle, just going to send that one, the big one, to the back so that the small one's on top. I'll double click to expose the nodes, and this time we want to get our score line here, so we'll click on, say minus, When it's got the line selected we want, we click on the magnifying glass, make it a cutting line and a perforating line. Click on the selection tool, select everything and then group everything. So now we've got, that's your matting for your words that will pop out as I showed you with it had the dad on the one that I showed you. Now if you want to make a straightforward matting layer for these, if you think the width of that is now 4.53, and just to make it so it's nice and easy for us to work out, I'm going to make it exactly 4.5 like so. So now it's 4.5 wide by 11. So that means that each one of these little squares is 4.5 inches long this way, and it's going to be 2.75 that way. So what we can do is bring on a basic shape, the square, and make it 4.5 in height, and then we want it 2.75 in width, like so. And that should fit in there. So, sorry, I've done 2.5 instead of 7.5. I wondered why it was a lot too small. Just redo that. And that should be exactly the same size. And if we look, it is. And all we're going to do next is click on that. We're going to go edit, create an offset, and we'll take it in by 0.08 inches, and we want to go inwards because we want to make it smaller, and say OK. So I'm going to click on the one that's smaller, delete the bigger of the two, and I'm just going to make the matting layer, when I can get on it, a colour so you can see what it's looking like. So we'll make that a nice purpley colour, I think, of purpley pink. Let it undo. Seem to have lost one of our score lines somewhere along the line. So we're just going to move that to the side. I'm just going to check what's going on here, and we're going to select it and we'll make it pink. Okay, so I think the score line's still there, but I think it's just underneath. If we undo that, it is still there. Alright, so I'm just going to leave it at that for now. So that is exactly fitting there. So if we change this to change the matting layer to, say, a nice pale lemony colour, you can see, if we zoom in, I'll zoom in so you can see with the spyglass, and then do the selection tool, that this rectangle is going to fit perfectly within that space, leaving a nice white border around should you decide to cut your card in white. Okay, so that's one way of creating your mat. If you want it to be a little bit more interesting, let's view fit to mat. So that's one way of doing it. And another way to make it a little bit more interesting is if we create an offset line and we do it at 0.4 inches inwards and say OK. Then we can select both. Click on the inner one. We'll make that a drawing line and a dash line, so it's got a stitch border inside. Select both and group them. Now what you've got is a mat that's going to fit perfectly on there, and I'll zoom in so you can see. It's going to fit perfectly on that spot. Obviously you'll be doing it by eye when you do it, but you can just scooch it along and you can see how that's going to fit on with a nice border round. And now you can see that it's got a stitch border. So I'm going to view fit to mat, and that's one mat that you could create. Now what I'm going to do is duplicate that. I'm going to ungroup it, and I'm going to delete this 4-stitch line for now, and I'm going to show you how to make a notched out shape. So to make a notched out shape, what you need to do is bring on this shape. It's down near the bottom of your basic shapes. Shrink it right down so it's like making a rounded corner, and we're going to need 4 of those. So I'm going to move them off to the side like so, and I'm going to select both of those, and we're just going to move the properties box out of the way. We're going to line it up to the top and also to the right, like so. I'm going to go edit and divide, and I'm going to click on the little bit there and hit delete on my keyboard, and then I'm going to select all and weld. Can you see how that's notched out that corner? Then I'm going to edit, and I'm going to flip that on the vertical axis, and we're going to do exactly the same thing in this corner. So we're going to line it up to the top. This time we're lining to the left. We're leaving both selected, and we're going to hit divide. I'm going to remove that tiny piece, select both, and I'm going to weld them. Now we've got the top two parts done. So I can delete that small piece that we've just removed. This time now I'm going to edit and flip this on the horizontal axis. I'm going to bring it into position, select both. I'm going to line it up to the bottom, and to the right. And I'm going to edit, divide them, remove the tiny part, select the others and weld them. And for a final time, this one we need to flip vertically and horizontally to get the right orientation. Put it up to the shape, select both, line up to the left and then to the bottom. And while they're still selected, hit divide, remove the tiny part, select them both and weld them. And what you've got then is a perfect size matting layer that will fit in there, but it has, if we just move this down so it's not interfering with the pink bit so you can see better, just put that in position. I'm going to zoom in and you can see how that fits perfectly. Oops, I've gone a bit too mad there with view, fit to mat again, and I'll just zoom in a bit more so you can see what's going on. Okay, so view, fit to mat, and then if we zoom in, we'll go in once more so you can see, if I click on that selection tool, that will now fit on your shape, leaving a nice border round and a nice notched inner border. So if we view it fit to mat, we can again, if we wish, on that layer add a 4-stitch layer by doing an inward offset, saying OK, click on the inward one, and we need to make that a drawing line and a perforated line to make it a 4-stitch line. We'll just move that out of the way, link those two together, so edit and group them, and then we've got another type of matting layer for our file that can fit perfectly on there. Now the other thing that I thought might be a more universal word if you wanted to put it on your pop out was the word love, and I've already created the file, and for those of you that are interested, I did it with the Brother Type Converter. I typed in love. I downloaded a font called Fatty, which is a big fat font and it cuts out really well and it's quite modern. I've already saved the word love to my files, so I'm not going to do it again. But if you want, you can always refer back to the video where I show you how to do that. I've got a full video showing you how to download the font, bring it into your computer, open Type Converter and create your own word. So if you're interested in that, please select the video and I'll try to remember to put the link for that below. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring in an FCM file. So I'm clicking on SVG because it's either FCM, DXF or SVG. Choose file. It's running a little bit slow tonight. I'm going to find my FCM files, bring in the word love, say open and OK. And it's brought it in. And it will have brought them in as individual letters, so I'm just going to select them, bring them down. I'll select them all. I'm going to group them, and then I can make them bigger. So what I'm trying to do is make them so that it'll fit nicely on my matting layers, if you will, like so. So it might be a little bit wide at that, I'm just going to shrink it a little bit, and then I can see what it's going to look like. And I think now they're going to fit on to my mats fine. So what I'm going to do now is ungroup. So I'm going to go edit and ungroup. I'm going to click off, click on the L, and I'll make it a nice dark colour so it shows up on the screen. So that would go, so I'm going to I'll try it with using the fancy shaped ones, and I'm going to duplicate it 4 times so you can get the idea. So these are all going to line up and mat on top of your mechanism, on your folded part after you've put your mechanism together. And like I say, I'll do a video on how to put it together. So we're going to put our L on that one. This one again we need to subtract, because that hole needs to be got rid of. And again, now we can make this a nice dark colour so it shows up. Move it into position, hello, and then the V will be fine as it is. So again, nice, bold font. So I'm going to bring that to the top, put that there, and we'll deal with the E now, and we can make that a nice bright colour, and that can go, bring it to the top on the final one. So then you'd have that matted out. You could even, if you wanted, make yourself some little 5 petal flowers. I've shown you how to do that. And if you wanted to look how to do that, I'll just pretend this is a 5 petal flower, because I'm not going to show you how to make one in this video. If you are interested, I have got a 5 petal flower on my YouTube channel, and I'll try to leave the link for that. And you could sort of dress up your letters if you wanted a little bit with some little flowers and make it look a bit retro. And that would be your love pop out. So you could have it either on a straight mat with no notches, or if you wanted a bit more interest, you could do that. It's entirely your choice. But the main part of the file that makes it the pop out is this part, the mechanism itself. And now that that's 11 inches, you can actually select everything, and you could edit and group everything and resize the whole thing to make the whole thing smaller if you wanted to make a smaller pop-out card, and so on. So if we then ungrouped it, that's making, and click off, we can get an idea what it's going to be. So that would make that one just over 8 inches. So whichever size you wanted to make, really, it's more than possible. Once you've got when you've got this software, you can just resize everything proportionally, so everything's still going to fit. You can see that's still going to fit perfectly on there, and your your mat, so going to still fit perfectly on there, and your letters will fit perfectly within, because we've resized everything proportionally. Okay, so that's it for my pop-out card. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you have, can I ask you that you like, share and subscribe? If you've got any comments or questions, please leave them below. And I'll see you next time, hopefully in the video where I'll show you how to make the file. All it remains now is for you to give it a name. I call it the twist and pop mechanism. So you can save it within your workspace online using this button. Save as another project in case I'm overwriting something I don't want to. Then hit the download button. If you've got something off the mat like I have, you need to make sure everything that you've got is on the mat. Then I must have something rogue at the minute that's off the mat, and I'm not sure what it is. So what you can do in that case, if this happens to you, and there it is, I can find it, and then you could download it. But if you get to a point where it says you've got something off your mat and you're not sure what it is, edit, select everything, and then edit and centre it in the centre on the horizontal and the vertical, which will bring everything that's within and off your mat together, and put it in the centre, so you know there's absolutely everything then is on your mat, and it will let you download it. Because I've had that problem before, and it's been the tiniest little thing that I've left over here somewhere, and it's been difficult to spot, but that's how I've cured it in the finally sorted it out how to do it. So that's it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.